Friends, fellow architects of destiny, I stand before you today with a message that will, if truly embraced, shatter every perceived limitation you've ever known. This is not mere philosophy, but a blueprint for unshakable power, a manual for mastering the unseen forces that govern your very existence. For too long, humanity has suffered under the illusion that pain is a permanent resident, that circumstances dictate our joy, and that others hold the keys to our peace. I tell you now, with the unwavering conviction of one who has witnessed this truth across 1,000 lives, that pain is a visitor, but suffering, my friends, suffering is a choice. The moment you seize command of your magnificent mind, the world outside loses its grip, its power to disturb your inner sanctuary. You become, in the truest sense of the word, untouchable. Picture this with me, if you will. Insults, those venomous darts hurled by the envious or the ignorant, they simply slide off you, leaving no mark. Loss, that brutal hammer blow of fate, is met not with despair, but with a quiet, burning resilience that strengthens your resolve. Betrayal, that chilling cut from a trusted hand, becomes not a wound that festers, but a whetstone that sharpens your inherent strength, forging a spirit of steel. But let us be brutally honest with ourselves. If you allow yourself to remain a fragile reed, swaying with every gust of opinion, every harsh word, every careless action from another, then you, and you alone, have handed them the reins of your power. True invincibility, the kind that withstands the fiercest storms, is not bestowed upon you by the world, but meticulously constructed, brick by inner brick, within your own being. The profound question now looms before you, demanding an answer. Will you dedicate yourself to fortifying this mental citadel, or will you continue to surrender it to the relentless tempest of life? The decision, my friends, is yours, and I assure you, it changes everything. In the moments that follow, you will receive the precise instructions, the time-tested principles to render your mind unbreakable, so that nothing and nobody can ever truly hurt you again. The secret, the profound truth, lies in this. You become untouchable when you achieve absolute command over your own mind, when you seize the helm of your thoughts, directing them with surgical precision. You become an impenetrable fortress against the sharp arrows of criticism, the insidious daggers of doubt, and the explosive bullets of betrayal. Envision this vivid scene. You stand resolute amidst a raging storm that sweeps others away in its fury, yet you maintain a perfect, unyielding composure. Chaos swirls around you, a maelstrom of external events, but within there is stillness. Challenges mount, seemingly insurmountable, yet a confident smile graces your lips. This mental fortress, this sanctuary of self, is not built in a single heroic act. No, it is forged incrementally, brick by deliberate brick, thought by conscious thought, decision by resolute decision, until that glorious day, you awaken to the astonishing realization that the external circumstances, once so tyrannical, no longer hold sway over your internal state. What once pierced your very heart now merely glances off your newly forged mental armor. Those who have truly mastered their minds, they, and they alone, have unlocked the profound secret to becoming truly untouchable. And why, you might ask, does this mastery of the mind create such an impenetrable shield of invulnerability? The answer is elegantly simple, yet utterly profound. Everything in this life, every fleeting emotion, every knee-jerk reaction, every sharp pang of pain must first pass through the sacred gateway of your thoughts before it can ever truly affect you. Ponder this undeniable truth, etched in the very fabric of human experience. No person, regardless of their intent or influence, can ever make you feel inferior without your express permission. No circumstance, however devastating it may appear, can truly crush your spirit without your active mental cooperation. The titans of history, the world's greatest achievers, from ancient philosophers to modern innovators, all understood this fundamental principle, that absolute control over one's thoughts translates directly into absolute control over one's destiny. When you consciously decide what is permitted entry into your mental domain and what is firmly excluded, you are, in essence, determining what will influence your life's unfolding path and what will simply fade into irrelevant background noise. So, the burning question remains, how do you cultivate this mental mastery, this unparalleled power that renders you untouchable? It begins, my friends, with becoming the unwavering, vigilant gatekeeper of your own thoughts. Every idea, every fleeting notion that attempts to cross the threshold of your mind must be rigorously examined. Ask yourself, does this thought serve my highest good, my grandest aspiration in life, or does it subtly, insidiously, undermine my potential? Cultivate the art of detached observation. When negative emotions arise, and they will, observe them without becoming them. Do not identify with them, but simply witness their presence like clouds passing in the sky. Dedicate a mere 15 minutes each morning, in perfect, profound silence, to deliberately direct your thoughts with laser-like focus toward your deepest, most cherished objectives. Learn to create that vital strategic pause between stimulus and response, that moment of choice that separates reaction from mastery. And most critically, surround yourself with an almost fanatical devotion, with materials, with books, with individuals who strengthen, who elevate, who fortify your mental resolve, rather than those who weaken it. For always remember this profound truth: your mind, like fertile soil, will grow in precisely the direction you consistently choose to feed it. Choose nourishment that builds an ironclad resilience. Let us consider the extraordinary journey of Eunice Waymont. Born in a small town, yet carrying dreams far grander than her circumstances, she yearned to study classical piano, to pour her soul into its harmonies, but faced blatant, crushing rejection solely due to her race. Did she internalize this searing pain? Did she allow it to define her, to diminish her spirit? No. She transmuted it, with an alchemical fire, into potent fuel, by asserting unwavering control over her mental response to this unjust discrimination. She channeled her prodigious talents down a different, equally powerful path. She ascended, brick by challenging brick, to become one of the most profoundly influential musical voices of her generation. When the venomous critics attacked her unconventional style, when prestigious venues slammed their doors shut on her performances, when the relentless industry attempted to mold her into something more palatable, more marketable, she remained, psychologically, utterly untouchable. Her mind, my friends, belonged to her alone, and from that sacred sovereignty radiated her undeniable, revolutionary power. Have you ever observed, with a sense of wonder, how two individuals can navigate identical storms, experience the same crushing circumstances, yet emerge with vastly, fundamentally different outcomes? What is it, then, that separates the person who is utterly crushed by criticism from the one who absorbs it, processes it, and emerges stronger, more refined because of it? What distinguishes the entrepreneur who collapses, shattered, after a monumental failure, from the visionary who meticulously, deliberately, builds an empire from those very same ruins? The profound difference, I assure you, lies not in the external forces, those capricious winds of fate, but in the mastery, the precision of internal mental management. Ask yourself, with brutal honesty, are you, in this very moment, allowing the fleeting opinions of others to penetrate your most sacred psychological boundaries? Are temporary setbacks, fleeting moments of difficulty, dictating your inherent sense of self-worth? Could it be, perhaps, that your greatest limitation, the true invisible chain, is not the obstacles before you, but the unguarded, undisciplined nature of your own thoughts? The moment, the liberating moment you fully grasp this truth, that nothing, absolutely nothing, holds power over you except that which you willingly grant through your own thinking, that, my friends, is when true, unfettered freedom begins. Your untouchable nature, your inherent invulnerability, it simply awaits your recognition. Your emotions, these powerful internal currents, they cannot break you. They cannot shatter your peace. When you have diligently constructed your emotional shield, emotions arrive, it is true, like waves upon a shore. Sometimes they are gentle, caressing ripples. At other times, they can be crushing tsunamis, threatening to engulf all in their path. But their power to truly harm you, to derail your journey, dissolves completely, evaporates into nothingness. When you have erected your impenetrable emotional shield, envision this profound reality. Tears may fall, for you are human, but they do not consume you, do not drown your spirit. Anger may rise, a fiery surge, but it does not control you, does not dictate your actions. Fear may appear, a chilling shadow, but it does not paralyze you, does not halt your forward momentum. This emotional fortification, this inner citadel of calm, represents the crucial distinction between living at the mercy of every fleeting feeling versus commanding them with profound wisdom and unyielding purpose. The shield, understand this, does not eliminate emotions. No, it transforms your fundamental relationship with them. Instead of being tossed about, a helpless vessel on stormy emotional seas, you become the steady, radiant lighthouse, observing the tempest, understanding its nature, but remaining completely undamaged by its fury. Those who meticulously build this protective barrier, they uncover a profound, liberating truth. Feelings can inform you, guide you, but they do not, and need not, define you. Why, then, does emotional sovereignty create this impenetrable defense? Because emotions, when left unmanaged, like a wild, untamed river, become the primary vehicle through which life's difficulties, its inevitable challenges, inflict their deepest, most painful wound. Without your diligently constructed shield, rejection, that sharp barb, crushes confidence. Criticism, that burning flame, incinerates motivation. And disappointment, that bitter draft, poisons the very wellspring of hope. The most inspiring achievement stories, those narratives of extraordinary triumph, invariably reveal individuals who did not suppress or eliminate their emotional responses. No, they masterfully channeled them with an alchemical touch, productively. Your innate capacity to experience emotion, to feel the full spectrum of human experience, represents one of your greatest, most potent human gifts, but only, and I emphasize only, when it is harnessed, directed, rather than blindly surrendered to. When you consciously establish healthy, robust boundaries around your emotional life, you are, in essence, determining which feelings truly deserve your precious energy, which warrant your sustained attention, and which, frankly, deserve mere acknowledgement before swift, purposeful release. So, how do you meticulously construct this emotional shield, this armor of the spirit that renders wounds utterly powerless? You begin by recognizing emotions for what they truly are, messengers, not masters. They bring information, not commands. Cultivate the practice of naming your feelings precisely as they emerge, as they ripple through your awareness. This seemingly simple act, this moment of precise identification, creates an immediate, vital distance between you and the emotion itself. Establish daily rituals, sacred practices that allow you to process emotions in a healthy, constructive manner before they accumulate, before they fester. Perhaps it is the quiet contemplation of journaling, pouring your thoughts onto the page. Perhaps it is the liberating release of physical movement, transforming emotional energy into kinetic motion. Or perhaps it is the catharsis of confidential conversations with trusted allies, those who hold space for your truth. Consciously disrupt destructive emotional patterns by introducing deliberate pauses, those crucial moments of choice. When you feel triggered, remember, emotional endurance, like physical strength, is not innate but built through consistent training, through deliberate engagement, rather than through avoidance. Feed your emotional resilience. Nurture it daily, through genuine inspiration, through restorative rest, through meaningful human connection, and through the transformative power of gratitude. Most importantly, practice the profound art of accepting emotions, allowing them to be, without ever, for a single moment, attaching your identity to them. Consider the formidable Margaret Hendricks, the first woman to break through the formidable barriers and be appointed to the board of a prestigious financial institution. She faced not just skepticism, but vicious personal attacks, questioning her very capabilities based solely on her gender. Did she allow humiliation and resentment to derail her vital mission? No. With an almost superhuman resolve, she meticulously crafted an exceptional emotional shield. When cynical colleagues deliberately excluded her from critical meetings, when the relentless news media relentlessly scrutinized her personal life while conveniently ignoring the achievements of her male counterparts, when hesitant investors threatened to withdraw their support based on outdated, prejudiced beliefs, she maintained an unwavering emotional equilibrium. This was not, let us be clear, through coldness or emotional detachment. No, it was through a profound mastery of her emotional responses. Her shield was not about feeling nothing, but about the sovereign act of choosing which feelings, which emotions truly deserved her precious, finite energy. Have you ever observed, within your own journey, how certain emotions consistently derail your progress toward your most meaningful goals? What transformative possibilities would suddenly unfurl before you if disappointment, that heavy cloak, no longer devastated you for days on end, but merely informed you for moments, offering a quick, precise lesson? Could it be that your current emotional patterns, those deeply etched responses, are not inevitable, not inherent limitations, but simply habits, patterns that can be consciously reshaped? Might your greatest, most monumental triumphs, those you yearn for, await just beyond the emotional storms you have, perhaps subconsciously, been avoiding? Consider this radical possibility. Perhaps emotional pain persists, not because of external circumstances, those fleeting outside events, but because of internal permission, a subtle, unconscious surrender of your power. The undeniable truth remains. Emotions themselves, in their raw form, cause far less damage, far less lasting harm than our undisciplined, reactive responses to them. Your unshakable nature, your intrinsic resilience, does not demand emotional elimination, but rather profound emotional integration. When you truly grasp that emotions can enrich your experience, can add depth and color to your life's tapestry, without ever controlling your direction, that, my friends, is when genuine, exhilarating freedom emerges. Your shield, your powerful, protective shield, awaits your masterful construction. Now, let us delve into the most profound alchemy of all, the transformation of every pain into your greatest, most potent power. For within your deepest wounds, within the very crucible of your suffering, lie the dormant seeds of your most extraordinary strengths. This is the mastery of transforming pain into power. Imagine this astonishing transformation. Betrayal, that bitter pill, becomes not a source of lingering bitterness, but a sharp instrument of discernment, teaching you true character. Rejection, that stinging rebuke, no longer a source of despair, but a powerful catalyst that breeds fierce independence, a reliance on your own inner compass. Failure, that humbling fall, ceases to be an end, and instead cultivates profound wisdom, insights gained only through struggle. And loss, that agonizing void, generates not endless sorrow, but a heightened, exquisite appreciation for what truly remains, for the preciousness of life itself. This remarkable conversion, this alchemical process, does not unfold automatically, nor does it happen overnight. No, it emerges through deliberate, conscious reframing, through the courageous act of asking better questions, through the relentless extraction of lessons from every moment of suffering, until one day you arrive at the astonishing realization that the very experiences, the very challenges designed to utterly destroy you, have instead magnificently distinguished you. What once threatened to break your spirit now builds your unique, formidable competitive advantage. Those who truly master this transformation, they discover a profound, liberating truth. They no longer fear life's inherent difficulties, its inevitable hardships, because they have learned to mine them with the skill of a seasoned prospector for hidden, invaluable treasures. Because hardship, my friends, creates pressure, and pressure, when properly harnessed, when skillfully directed, produces diamonds from mere coal. The world's most impactful individuals, the architects of change, the shapers of destiny, they did not succeed despite their suffering. No, they frequently succeeded precisely because of how they transmuted it, how they channeled its raw energy. Your painful experiences, those moments of trial, they contain concentrated lessons, insights utterly unavailable through comfortable circumstances. Through a life of ease, they serve as a rigorous stress test for your character, revealing with brutal honesty both the weaknesses that demand reinforcement and the hidden strengths that lie dormant, awaiting deployment. Most significantly, pain creates the essential contrast, the vital shadow, necessary to truly recognize and profoundly appreciate triumph. For without the darkness, how could you ever fully comprehend, truly experience, the radiant glory of the light? When you consciously reinterpret suffering, not as a cruel punishment, but as a strategic investment, an invaluable deposit in your personal growth account, you unlock a vast reservoir of energy, previously trapped in the corrosive grip of resentment or regret. So, how do you perform this remarkable, this life-altering transformation from wound to profound wisdom? Begin by decisively abandoning the self-pitying why me question. Replace it, instantly, with the empowering what now? Thoroughly examine every painful situation, every difficult moment, for its inherent educational value. Ask yourself, with genuine curiosity, what does this difficulty, this challenge, truly reveal about myself, about others, or about the immutable principles that govern life itself? Practice conscious reframing. Ask, with an open, curious mind, how this specific challenge, this apparent obstacle, might actually serve, rather than hinder, your ultimate, your grandest objective. Extract the gift, the hidden blessing, within each hardship. Perhaps it is increased resilience, a deeper well of inner strength. Perhaps it is profound empathy, a greater understanding of the human condition. Or perhaps it is simply greater clarity about your true priorities, revealing what genuinely matters. Create profound meaning from your suffering through dedicated service to others, those who are navigating similar trials. Remember always that pain transforms into power most effectively, most profoundly, when it is channeled toward a purpose far beyond yourself. Most importantly, with unwavering resolve, refuse to grant permanent residence to temporary emotion. Let us draw inspiration from the astonishing journey of Teo Fukui, who bent under the oppressive weight of extreme poverty, compounded by significant physical limitations. Conventional wisdom that often limited voice predicted a life of severely restricted prospects. But did he surrender to disadvantage? No. He systematically, with an almost divine precision, converted each and every barrier into a foundational building block. When esteemed educational institutions rejected his applications, despite his exceptional scores, when potential employers dismissed his capabilities based purely on his physical appearance, when financial constraints threatened to suffocate his brilliant innovations. He transmuted these rejections into resolute self-reliance, a fierce belief in his own capacity. The very discrimination that might have embittered a lesser man instead ignited within him a revolutionary spirit, inspiring groundbreaking designs, brilliantly accommodating diverse physical abilities. His engineering breakthroughs, understand this, emerged directly from his personal limitations, ultimately transforming transportation accessibility for literally millions of lives. His pain did not merely produce personal power. No, it generated widespread, profound human progress. Ask yourself, with piercing honesty, are you currently viewing certain painful experiences purely as obstacles, as roadblocks, rather than as fertile opportunities for growth and transformation? What wounds, what past hurts might still contain profound wisdom that you have not yet courageously extracted? Could your greatest setbacks, those moments of apparent defeat, potentially become your defining advantages, your unique selling points? With the proper transformative interpretation, might your present difficulties, those challenging circumstances you currently face, be meticulously preparing you for future opportunities requiring precisely the strength, the resilience, the wisdom that is being forged through these current challenges? Consider this radical perspective shift. Perhaps your most painful experiences are not, in truth, punishments, but rather sacred preparations. The capacity to transform pain into unwavering power. This is the fundamental distinction between those who merely endure life's journey and those who, with defiant spirit, truly conquer it. Your hardships, understand this, do not diminish your potential. No, when properly processed, when skillfully transmuted, they dramatically expand it. When you fully comprehend, with every fiber of your being, that pain represents raw material, awaiting your masterful conversion, rather than a life sentence without purpose, that, my friends, is when genuine, breathtaking transformation begins. Your greatest power, your most extraordinary strength, awaits within your deepest pain. Now, let us speak of an inner fortress, a citadel of self-belief that no external force can ever breach. Unbreakable confidence that springs from within. Your confidence, I assure you, becomes absolutely unshakable, an unmovable mountain, when it is built upon internal foundations, those bedrock principles of self, rather than upon the fickle sands of external validation. Picture this liberating reality. You present your boldest ideas, your most ambitious visions, without requiring a single ounce of approval from anyone. You pursue your grandest goals, your deepest aspirations, undeterred by skepticism, by the doubts of others. You maintain an unwavering self-belief, a quiet conviction, even amidst the most piercing criticism. And you possess the serene courage to walk away from toxic situations, from relationships that diminish you, without a whisper of self-doubt. This unwavering self-assurance, understand this, does not arise from arrogance, from a puffed-up ego, or from delusion. No, it emerges from an intimate, profound self-knowledge, from recognizing your inherent, undeniable value, separate and distinct from any accomplishments. It flows from honoring commitments to yourself, those silent promises whispered in the quiet of your soul, with the same solemn seriousness you extend to promises made to others. What once required a constant stream of external reinforcement, a continuous validation from the outside world, now flows naturally, effortlessly, from within your own being. Those who meticulously cultivate this internal confidence, they uncover an astonishing, liberating truth. They no longer live hostage to the evaluations of others, to the fleeting judgments of the world, because they have established their own unshakable standard, an internal compass that always points true north. Why then does internally generated confidence, this self-sourced power, provide such bulletproof protection? because confidence that is built upon external validation, like a house built on sand, remains perpetually vulnerable, forever exposed to outside forces, capricious and beyond your control. The most compelling leadership examples throughout history, from the visionary to the revolutionary, invariably reveal individuals who maintained an unwavering self-belief, a quiet, unyielding conviction, despite the initial public skepticism, the ridicule, the doubt that often greeted their bold visions. Your innate capacity to trust yourself, to believe in your own judgment, represents the fundamental foundation upon which all other success, all other achievements, either gloriously rises or tragically falls. When your sense of worth, your intrinsic value, emanates from within, like a steady, internal flame, rejection loses its sting, its power to diminish you. Criticism becomes merely information, a data point to be considered, rather than a destructive personal attack. And failure, that feared adversary, transforms into profound education, a master teacher revealing invaluable lessons. Most crucially, internal confidence cultivates the profound courage necessary to maintain your integrity, to hold firm to your principles, even when compromised. The path of least resistance would be infinitely easier. So, how do you meticulously develop this unbreakable confidence, this inner bedrock that sustains you regardless of the external circumstances? You begin by conducting a thorough, honest personal inventory. Identify your strengths without false modesty or ego, and acknowledge your weaknesses without harsh judgment or self-flagellation. Practice conscientious self-care, treating yourself with the same profound consideration, the same genuine kindness you would offer to a truly valued friend. Establish a robust system of personal integrity where promises made to yourself, those quiet commitments, hold equal, if not greater, importance to commitments made to others. Document your victories, meticulously record them, both the small, everyday triumphs and the significant, monumental achievements, to create concrete, undeniable evidence that directly counters any emerging self-doubt. Deliberately seek out challenges, embrace them, those that lie just slightly beyond your current capabilities. Then, celebrate your growth, the very act of reaching, regardless of the immediate outcome. Remember always that confidence, like any powerful muscle, strengthens and grows through consistent resistance training, through deliberate stretching beyond comfort. Feed your self-belief daily, nourish it through empowering affirmation, through vivid visualization, and through evidence-based reflection on your progress. Consider the remarkable Solomon Niente, a man of extraordinary academic potential, yet whose educational opportunities were severely limited by the harsh realities of economic and social barriers. But did he internalize these external limitations as personal inadequacy, as a judgment of his intrinsic worth? Absolutely not. He cultivated, with an almost defiant spirit, an unshakable self-belief. When prestigious institutions initially rejected his applications, when skeptical colleagues questioned his qualifications based on his background rather than his undeniable merit, when crippling financial constraints threatened to halt his groundbreaking research, his confidence, his inner conviction, never wavered. This was not through blind positivity, not through naive delusion. No, it was through a clear-eyed, profound self-acknowledgement. He recognized capabilities within himself that others had not yet witnessed, had not yet acknowledged, and he persisted, relentlessly, until his groundbreaking agricultural innovations transformed regional food security for countless lives. His confidence was not loud or boastful. No, it manifested as a quiet, consistent self-trust, a deep internal knowing, despite overwhelming external doubt. Have you observed, within your own experience, how certain situations, certain individuals, consistently undermine your confidence? What transformative possibilities would suddenly become tangible, within your grasp, when your self-belief no longer requires constant external reinforcement, a continuous stream of validation from the outside world? Could your current confidence challenges, those nagging doubts, stem from seeking validation from sources utterly incapable of truly understanding, truly appreciating your unique vision, your inherent worth. Might your most authentic achievements, those true expressions of your potential, await just beyond the approval-seeking patterns currently limiting your boldest expressions, your most courageous actions. Consider this profound reality. Perhaps confidence struggles persist, not because you are lacking, not because you are inherently flawed, but because you are looking outward, desperately searching for what can only be generated, meticulously cultivated, within. The truth, my friends, remains unwavering. Sustainable confidence cannot be given to you by others, nor can it be taken away. It must be internally cultivated, diligently nurtured, and fiercely protected. Your unshakable nature, your intrinsic power, does not demand universal approval, but unwavering self-trust. When you fully grasp that confidence represents a conscious choice, an internal decision, rather than a mere circumstance, that, my friends, is when genuine liberation begins. Your unbreakable confidence, your magnificent inner strength, awaits your profound recognition. Now, let us move to a mastery that unlocks ultimate freedom, the mastery of your reply. To master your life, your complete, absolute liberation emerges, like the dawn after a long night, when you seize full command of your response to external forces, rather than fruitlessly attempting to control the forces themselves. Envision this profound mastery. You maintain perfect, serene peace amidst swirling chaos. You possess the alchemical ability to convert obstacles, those apparent roadblocks, into potent opportunities. You find humor, a gentle, knowing smile, even during hardship. And you create profound value from situations that others, blinded by their limitations, consider utterly worthless. This response, sovereignty, understand this, does not imply pretending difficulties don't exist. No, it means developing such profound command over your own reactions, such exquisite control, that you extract advantage, a hidden benefit, from any circumstance, any challenge that life presents. What once appeared as insurmountable problems now registers as interesting, engaging challenges, worthy of your creative, intelligent engagement. Those who achieve this response mastery, they uncover an extraordinary, liberating truth. They need not control external conditions, those vast, uncontrollable tides of fate, because they have perfected, with meticulous care, absolute control over their own internal condition. Why, then, does response mastery create this unparalleled freedom? Because while external circumstances, like the weather, remain largely outside your jurisdiction, your responses, my friends, remain entirely, absolutely, within your control. The most consequential figures throughout history, the movers and shakers, the paradigm shifters, demonstrated not immunity from difficulties. No, they possessed a remarkable, almost supernatural capacity to fashion constructive, empowering responses to them. Your inherent power to choose your reactions, to select your reply, rather than succumbing to automatic, unconscious reflexes, represents your most decisive, your most potent advantage in any situation. When you cultivate intentional responses, those deliberate, conscious replies, rather than automatic reactions, setbacks, those disheartening moments, become temporary, not terminal. Criticism transforms into useful information, rather than destructive personal attack, and failures, those painful stumbles, become profound education, rather than defining condemnations. Most significantly, response sovereignty prevents external forces, those outside influences, from ever determining your internal state, your peace of mind. So, how do you meticulously develop this response mastery, this alchemical skill that transforms every external challenge into an internal victory? You begin by creating a deliberate, conscious space between stimulus and response, that momentary pause, that precious breath, that permits conscious choice rather than mindless compulsion. Practice the art of reframing adverse situations through alternative, empowering perspective. Ask yourself, with genuine curiosity, what opportunities, what hidden pathways might exist within this apparent problem. Develop powerful questions that automatically redirect your focus during difficulties, those moments of challenge. Ask, what can I learn here? Or, how might I strategically use this? Strengthen your contextual awareness by regularly zooming outward, expanding your perspective from immediate circumstances to broader patterns and higher purposes. Remember that response muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent resistance training, through deliberate challenge, rather than through comfortable repetition. Feed your response sovereignty by diligently studying how history's greatest achievers, those who shaped civilizations, converted crushing defeats into defining, triumphant victories. Consider the extraordinary Victoria Woodhull, who faced seemingly impenetrable barriers to participating in financial markets solely based on her gender. She cultivated, with astonishing resolve, an extraordinary response mastery when established institutions arrogantly rejected her participation, despite her undeniable aptitude, when the relentless media attacked her character rather than her brilliant ideas, when daunting regulatory obstacles threatened to crush her innovative approaches. She refused reactive indignation. She chose, instead, strategic recalibration. Rather than expending precious energy fighting systems deliberately designed against her success, she, with audacious vision, created parallel structures, alternative pathways, that eventually transformed the very marketplace that had initially excluded her. Her response sovereignty was not about passive acceptance. No, it was about strategic redirection, a masterful pivot. Her strength manifested not in fruitlessly attempting to control unchangeable circumstances, but in her absolute, unwavering control over her engagement with them. Ask yourself, with profound introspection, are you currently expending your precious, finite energy trying to change immovable external conditions, those things beyond your control, rather than mastering your response to them? What transformative possibilities might suddenly emerge if you redirected that same intensity, that same potent energy, toward internal sovereignty, toward self-mastery? Could your greatest current frustrations, those moments of gnawing irritation, actually represent disguised opportunities for you to demonstrate creative, innovative response? Might your present challenges, those difficulties you currently face, be perfectly designed to develop precisely the response muscles, the internal strength required for your next level of achievement, your grander ascent? Consider this fundamental, liberating shift. Perhaps your circumstances appear limiting, not because of their inherent nature, but because of your habitual unconscious reactions to them. The truth, my friends, remains steadfast. External conditions hold power over your experience only to the extent you willingly grant it through unmanaged, undisciplined responses. Your liberation, your ultimate freedom, does not require controlling the uncontrollable, but mastering what remains forever, irrevocably, within your control. When you fully comprehend that circumstances do not determine your destiny, but merely reveal your ingrained response patterns, that, my friends, is when genuine mastery begins. Your sovereignty, your ultimate command over self, awaits your profound recognition. Your life's magnificent trajectory is not primarily shaped by occasional, monumental choices, those dramatic forks in the road. No, it is meticulously, powerfully shaped by the consistent, seemingly small daily decisions you make, day in and day out, often when nobody, not a single soul, is watching. Visualize this astonishing compounding effect. Small, seemingly insignificant disciplines accumulating, imperceptibly at first, into towering, breathtaking achievements. Minor compromises, those seemingly harmless deviations, subtly deteriorating into major character flaws, eroding your integrity. Tiny improvements, those consistent, incremental steps, snowballing, gathering momentum into transformative, life-altering progress. This decision architecture, this silent constructor of your future, does not announce itself dramatically. No, it operates quietly, relentlessly, moment by precious moment, choice by deliberate choice, building your future, brick by invisible brick, while you remain barely conscious of its profound construction. What appears to the casual observer as sudden success or abrupt failure actually represents the inevitable, predictable outcome of thousands of seemingly insignificant decisions made over time. Those who master this decision awareness, this conscious living, they discover an empowering, liberating truth. They need not frantically attempt to control circumstances, those external forces, because they have mastered the choices, the internal selection that govern their response to any circumstance. Why, then, do daily decisions wield this extraordinary, destiny-shaping power? Because life, my friends, operates on the immutable principle of compound interest, applied not just to finances, but to character and capability. The most remarkable achievers throughout history, those who left an indelible mark, rarely possessed unusual talent. No, they demonstrated an unusual, almost supernatural decision consistency. Your seemingly minor choices, those often overlooked moments, they determine your information diet, the fuel for your mind. They determine the quality of your relationships, the very fabric of your social world. They determine your health trajectory, the vitality of your body, and ultimately, they determine your opportunity landscape, the very world of possibilities that opens before you. When you truly recognize that decisions compound, that they multiply their effects, rather than simply accumulating, suddenly those small integrity choices, those quiet learning investments, those moments of self-discipline, take on monumental, profound significance. Most crucially, decision sovereignty, this absolute command over your choices, prevents external influences from hijacking your trajectory, from subtly diverting your path through unconscious habit formation. So, how do you harness this decision power, this incredible force, to deliberately, consciously design your destiny? Begin by conducting a rigorous decision audit. Identify the top 5 daily choices that are currently shaping your future, both positively and negatively. Practice decision consciousness by meticulously creating environmental triggers that promote momentary awareness, a conscious pause before habitual actions take over. Establish non-negotiable daily disciplines, sacred routines that anchor your highest priorities, regardless of convenience or fleeting mood fluctuation. Deliberately engineer your physical spaces, arrange your environment to make superior decisions automatic, effortless, rather than requiring constant willpower, constant struggle. Remember always that decision muscles, like physical ones, strengthen through consistent, deliberate exercise, not through occasional, heroic effort. Feed your decision quality by diligently studying how history's greatest achievers structured their daily choices, meticulously arranging their lives to virtually guarantee their eventual, magnificent success. Consider the visionary Raymond Tomlin. His contemporaries, with ambitious fervor, sought revolutionary technological breakthroughs, grand, dazzling innovation. But he, with quiet genius, focused instead on making excellent daily decisions regarding seemingly mundane communication problems. When prestigious research projects, those glittering temptations, attempted to lure his attention away from fundamental connectivity challenges, when skeptical colleagues dismissed his profound interest in basic message transmission as lacking glamour, as too simple, when powerful financial incentives pulled him toward more commercially obvious applications, his decision discipline never wavered, not through dramatic declarations, not through public pronouncements, but through consistent, unwavering daily choices. He allocated his finest thinking hours, his most potent mental energy, to solving essential foundational problems, rather than merely impressive ones. His decision architecture was not flashy or attention-seeking. No, it manifested as a quiet, consistent prioritization of foundation-building work, the invisible groundwork that eventually revolutionized global communication infrastructure, touching billions of lives. Ask yourself, with unflinching honesty, are you currently celebrating occasional heroic efforts, those grand gestures, while neglecting the consistent daily decisions that are actually powerfully determining your trajectory? What transformative possibilities might suddenly emerge if you redirected your focus from dramatic outcomes toward a meticulous, unwavering, consistent decision quality? Could your greatest current frustrations, those moments of stagnation, actually reflect the compound interest on previous poor decisions rather than merely present circumstances? Might your most desired achievements, those you dream of, await just beyond a series of seemingly insignificant but perfectly aligned daily choices? Consider this fundamental shift in perspective. Perhaps success appears elusive, not because you lack capability, not because you are inherently deficient, but because you have profoundly underestimated how thoroughly daily decisions shape destiny. The truth, my friends, remains absolute. External circumstances influence your future primarily through their profound impact on your decision patterns. Your destiny ownership, your ultimate command over your life's path, begins with decision ownership. When you fully comprehend that life does not merely happen to you, a series of random events, but rather emerges meticulously crafted from these thousands of seemingly minor choices, that, my friends, is when genuine, breathtaking empowerment begins. Your extraordinary destiny awaits your daily decisions. Now, let us unveil the ultimate truth, the foundational principle of all reality. Your thoughts create your reality. Your entire experience of life, every nuance, every perception flows directly, inevitably, from the quality and direction of your thinking patterns. Envision this profound causality, your expectations becoming your experiences, your assumptions transforming into your perceptions, your deepest beliefs manifesting as your actions, your behaviors, and your thoughts, those unseen architects, crystallizing into your very circumstances. This thought-reality connection does not operate mystically through some unseen magic. No, it operates psychologically and practically. It shapes how you interpret events, what meaning you assign to them. It determines what opportunities you recognize, what pathways become visible. It defines which actions you even consider possible, which paths you dare to tread, and ultimately, it dictates what results you truly achieve. What once appeared as random external events, as arbitrary occurrences, now reveals itself as the natural outgrowth, the predictable harvest of internal mental activity. Those who master their thought patterns, those who become the conscious architects of their inner world, they discover a transformative, liberating truth. They need not constantly battle external conditions, those seemingly intractable problems, because they have learned to address those conditions at their very source. Why? Then, do thoughts wield this reality-creating power? Because your mind operates as both filter and projector. It determines what you notice, what registers in your awareness, and how you respond to everything you experience. Historical analysis of extraordinary achievers, those who bent reality to their will, reveals not unusual circumstances, not inherent advantage, but unusual thought patterns about common circumstances. Your mental activity determines which information receives your precious focus, what meaning is assigned to events, which responses even seem available to you, and what level of persistence appears warranted. When you truly recognize that thoughts precede and profoundly shape every aspect of your experience, suddenly mental management becomes not optional self-improvement, a pleasant pastime, but essential, non-negotiable life navigation. Most significantly, thought mastery prevents circumstances from controlling your internal condition, from dictating your peace, through automatic, unconscious interpretation habits. So, how do you harness these thought patterns, this incredible power to deliberately, consciously design your reality? Begin by conducting a meticulous thought inventory. Identify your recurring mental patterns, those often unseen habits of thought that create both empowerment and limitation in your experience. Practice thought consciousness through regular intervals of deliberate mental observation, watching your thoughts without judgment, without attachment. Establish specific replacement patterns for disempowering thoughts, those that currently drain your energy and divert your focus. Engineer your information environment. Meticulously select what you consume to support mental patterns that are profoundly aligned with your highest aspirations. Remember that thought habits, like physical ones, transform through consistent new input, through deliberate, sustained effort, rather than through occasional inspiration. Feed your thought quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential figures maintained extraordinary mental discipline and unyielding inner focus, even amidst the most challenging external circumstances. Consider the brilliant Gertrude Elion. She encountered pervasive gender barriers in scientific research, a formidable wall of prejudice, yet she maintained thought patterns fundamentally different from her equally talented contemporaries. When coveted research positions remained closed to her, despite her exceptional qualifications, when laboratory colleagues dismissed her invaluable contributions based solely on her gender rather than their undeniable merit, when academic publications rejected her submissions without substantive review, her thought discipline remained uncompromised. Rather than internalizing these external limitations, rather than allowing them to shrink her world, she consistently directed her thinking toward unexplored research avenues, new frontiers accessible despite institutional barriers. Her thought mastery was not about positive platitudes. No, it was about strategic mental allocation. She refused to waste precious cognitive resources on resentment, on bitterness. Instead, she invested that same mental energy into innovative problem solving, into groundbreaking inquiry that eventually transforms pharmaceutical development against conditions previously considered utterly untreatable. Ask yourself, with brutal honesty, are you currently allowing circumstances to dictate your thought patterns, to control your inner narrative, rather than using your powerful thought patterns to transform your circumstances? What transformative possibilities might suddenly emerge if you redirected the vast mental energy currently spent analyzing problems toward envisioning solutions, toward creating new pathways? Could your greatest present limitations, those perceived barriers, actually reflect thought boundaries, mental constructs, rather than genuine external barriers? Might your desired achievements, those you long for, await just beyond updated thought patterns about what is truly possible for someone with your unique background and resources? Consider this radical paradigm shift. Perhaps success appears distant, not because external conditions oppose you, but because internal thought patterns have not yet aligned with its essential requirements. The truth, my friends, remains unwavering. Circumstances influence your experience primarily through the thoughts you maintain about them. Your reality creation, your ultimate power, begins with thought creation. When you fully comprehend that conditions do not create thoughts, but thoughts, consciously or unconsciously, create conditions, that, my friends, is when genuine, breathtaking transformation begins. Your extraordinary reality awaits your masterful thought patterns. Now, let us confront a universal adversary, fear. Fear dissolves when purpose grows. Its paralyzing power completely dissipates, overshadowed by a compelling, magnetic purpose. Imagine this profound transformation. You speak confidently to large audiences, delivering your message with clarity and conviction despite previous social anxiety that once crippled you. You pursue ambitious objectives, your grandest visions, undeterred by criticism or concern. You initiate crucial conversations, those difficult but necessary dialogues, despite the possibility of rejection. And you take calculated risks, stepping into the unknown, despite the potential for failure. This fear transcendence does not occur through elimination, through somehow becoming fearless. No, it occurs through substitution, replacing fear's dominance with the greater, irresistible magnetism of purpose. What once stopped you cold, froze you in your tracks, now barely registers as background noise during your purpose-driven action. Those who discover a sufficiently meaningful purpose, a compelling reason for being, they find an empowering, liberating truth. They need not become fearless, for they have become irrevocably purpose-focused. Why, then, does purpose create this fear-dissolving effect? Because meaningful purpose activates motivational forces deep within your being that simply overpower fear's protective mechanism. History's most consequential retortion. Those who dared to change the world rarely experienced less fear than their contemporaries. No, they possessed purposes so compelling, so magnetic, that those fears, while present, became utterly irrelevant to their forward movement. Your brain, in its primal function, prioritizes perceived threats as a fundamental survival mechanism. But when purpose engages deeper identity and meaning centers, when it connects to something greater than yourself, protection concerns become secondary to contribution imperatives. When a clear, burning purpose establishes precisely why action remains essential, despite discomfort, despite fear, suddenly feeling ready becomes unnecessary for forward movement. Most crucially, purpose prevents fear from functioning as a decision maker, from dictating your choices by establishing superior selection criteria, a higher standard for action. So, how do you cultivate purpose powerful enough to neutralize even your most persistent, deeply ingrained fears? Begin by identifying the specific areas where fear currently constrains your highest potential, where it holds you back. Then, courageously explore what purpose might prove compelling enough to override those specific concerns. Practice purpose amplification by connecting immediate actions to their furthest reaching positive implications, seeing the ripple effect of your efforts. Establish purpose reminders that trigger automatically during moments of fear activation, a quick mental redirection. Strengthen your purpose clarity through regular contemplation of what contribution, what lasting impact would make your unique journey truly worthwhile, regardless of public recognition or external acclaim. Remember that purpose muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent stretching beyond comfortable limits, through deliberate expansion. Feed your purpose quality by diligently studying how history's most impactful individuals maintained unwavering mission focus, an unshakable dedication, despite legitimate reasons for caution, despite genuine fear. Consider the remarkable Hideo Noguchi, who experienced profound social anxiety that made professional interactions extraordinarily uncomfortable, a constant internal struggle. Yet, his burning purpose concerning disease eradication generated a momentum so powerful, so compelling, that it consistently overpowered his psychological barriers. When speaking at international conferences, despite paralyzing stage fright, when advocating controversial research approaches, despite intense criticism anxiety, when directing diverse research teams, despite debilitating communication apprehension, his purpose commitment never faltered. This was not through fearlessness. No, it was through purpose prioritization. His purpose focus was not about ignoring legitimate concerns, but about maintaining unwavering concentration on outcomes significant enough to justify enduring those concerns. The diseases he helped address, through this purpose-driven persistence, saved countless lives that would have been lost had he allowed fear to dictate his professional boundaries, to limit his monumental contribution. Ask yourself, with probing honesty, are you currently allowing fears to establish your action parameters, to define your limits, rather than using purpose to contextualize those fears appropriately, to put them in their rightful, smaller place? What transformative contributions might suddenly become possible if you redirected your focus from fear reduction toward purpose expansion, toward a bolder, more expansive vision? Could your greatest current limitations, those barriers you perceive, actually reflect purpose insufficiency, a lack of compelling drive, rather than excessive fear? Might your most meaningful achievements, those that will define your legacy, await just beyond fear barriers that would instantly dissolve before a sufficiently compelling, magnetic purpose? Consider this fundamental reorientation, perhaps fear maintains its power, not because you lack courage, but because you haven't yet connected with a purpose magnetic enough to override your primal protection instincts. The truth, my friends, remains undeniable. Fears influence behavior primarily when purpose lacks sufficient clarity and significance. Your liberation, your ultimate freedom, begins with purpose amplification. When you fully comprehend that fear management requires not fear elimination, but purpose elevation, that, my friends, is when genuine, exhilarating freedom begins. Your fearless impact awaits your purposeful focus. Now, let us explore the profound truth that relationships determine your elevation. Your growth trajectory, your ascent to higher planes of achievement, becomes virtually unlimited, unbound, when you master the profound art of strategic relationship cultivation. Visualize this astonishing acceleration. You access decades of accumulated wisdom through mentorship, downloading invaluable insights, without personally experiencing every costly lesson. You multiply your impact through powerful collaboration, achieving far more than your individual capability could ever permit. You receive honest, direct feedback, exposing your blind spots, those areas invisible to personal reflection, and you encounter opportunities far beyond the boundaries of your current network. This relationship leverage does not develop accidentally or overnight. No, it emerges through deliberate connection cultivation, through mutual value creation, through consistent gratitude expression, until one glorious day, you realize your growth rate has fundamentally, dramatically changed. What once required years of isolated, solitary effort now happens through months of connected, synergistic expansion. Those who master relationship development, they discover a transformative, liberating truth. They need not know everything or do everything, because they have skillfully connected with those who brilliantly complement their limitations. Why, then, do relationships create this extraordinary elevation potential? Because human achievement, in its very essence, operates as a profoundly social, rather than isolated, phenomenon. Historical analysis of breakthrough contributors, those who revolutionized their fields, reveals not isolated geniuses, but individuals deeply embedded within powerful relationship networks. Your connection quality determines your information access, the richness of your knowledge. It determines your opportunity visibility, what doors open to you. It dictates your resource availability, what support you can draw upon, and ultimately, it defines your achievement ceiling. When you truly recognize that relationships function as growth accelerators, as powerful engines of progress, rather than mere social pleasantries, suddenly strategic connection cultivation becomes essential infrastructure, non-negotiable for your success, rather than optional networking. Most significantly, relationship mastery prevents capability limitations from constraining your impact, from holding you back, through complementary collaboration. So, how do you develop relationship patterns that consistently elevate, that lift you higher, rather than merely entertain? Begin by conducting a meticulous relationship audit. Identify which current connections consistently expand your thinking, challenge your limitations, and connect you with transformative growth opportunities. Practice deliberate value creation by systematically identifying how you might genuinely contribute to others' success, offering your support before ever requesting anything in return. Establish relationship cultivation rituals, dedicated practices that ensure consistent investment in your most growth-accelerating connections, despite busy schedules or competing demands. Engineer your environmental patterns to regularly expose you to individuals operating beyond your current achievement level, those who inspire and stretch you. Remember that relationship muscles, like physical ones, strengthen through consistent service, through genuine contribution, rather than occasional extraction. Feed your relationship quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential figures systematically built connection networks that brilliantly compensated for personal limitations, while magnificently amplifying unique strength. Consider the intellectual giant Mortimer Adler. His contemporaries pursued independent intellectual contributions, focused on individual brilliance. He focused instead on relationship systems that connected diverse thinkers across traditional boundaries. When academic recognition favored specialized individual publication, when institutional structures rewarded departmental loyalty over interdisciplinary collaboration, when funding patterns supported isolated research rather than integrated dialogue, his relationship focus remained unwavering. Not through mere social pleasantries, but through strategic connection architecture, meticulously designed to accelerate collective wisdom development. His relationship mastery was not about popularity. No, it was about purposeful network cultivation that eventually transformed educational access for millions by connecting previously isolated knowledge domains through strategic relationship bridges. Ask yourself, with searching honesty, are you currently measuring success primarily through independent accomplishment, through solitary effort, rather than through collaborative elevation, through shared triumph? What transformative possibilities might suddenly emerge if you redirected your focus from personal capability development towards strategic relationship cultivation? Could your greatest current limitations, those barriers you perceive, actually reflect connection gaps, missing links in your network, rather than personal deficiencies? Might your most significant achievements, those that will leave a lasting mark, await just beyond relationship bridges you haven't yet built intentionally? Consider this fundamental reorientation. Perhaps growth appears constrained, not because you lack potential, but because you have profoundly underestimated how thoroughly relationships determine development trajectories. The truth, my friends, remains. Individual capabilities influence your ceiling primarily until relationship mastery removes those limitations altogether. Your exponential growth begins with connection cultivation. When you fully comprehend that elevation speed depends less on personal traits than on the quality of your relationships, that, my friends, is when genuine, breathtaking acceleration begins. Your extraordinary elevation awaits your relationship mastery. Your inherent capacity to transform devastating defeats into defining victories, those moments of profound triumph, depends entirely upon your diligent resilience development. Imagine this powerful alchemical process, business failures becoming not terminal points, but profound entrepreneurial education. Rejections revealing not dead ends, but clear redirection opportunities. Health challenges generating not despair, but deeper appreciation for life and vitality. And relationship disappointments clarifying authentic connection requirements, revealing what truly matters in human bond. This resilience alchemy does not happen automatically. No, it emerges through deliberate meaning-making, through strategic response selection, through intentional growth extraction, until eventually, you arrive at the astonishing realization that setbacks that devastate others, that halt their progress, barely interrupt your forward momentum. What once appeared as momentum-destroying obstacles now registers as necessary course corrections, guiding you, with precision, towards superior destination. Those who master resilience, they discover an empowering truth. They need not fear failure, for they have learned to transform every setback into a strategic setup for a stronger, more magnificent comeback. Why, then, does resilience create this setback transmuting power? Because challenges, understand this, operate not merely as obstacles, but as essential development catalysts. When properly processed, when skillfully engaged, historical examination of remarkable achievers reveals not an absence of failure, no, but an extraordinary response to it. Your resilience capacity determines whether difficulties function as terminal events or transformational experiences, whether rejection represents a conclusion or a powerful redirection, and ultimately, whether failure defines or profoundly refines your journey. When you recognize that setbacks provide precisely the resistance necessary for strength development, Suddenly avoiding difficulties becomes counterproductive, a hindrance to your growth, rather than strategic. Most significantly, resilience mastery prevents circumstances from dictating your trajectory, from controlling your path, by establishing internal rather than external response determination. So, how do you develop resilience powerful enough to convert any setback into strategic advantage? Begin by reframing your fundamental relationship with difficulty. Recognize challenges as capacity-building experiences, as opportunities to grow, rather than progress-preventing events. Practice immediate meaning searching when facing setbacks, asking, with genuine curiosity, what this specific difficulty might be perfectly designed to teach or reveal. Establish resilience rituals that process disappointment productively, releasing its hold, rather than allowing emotional residue to accumulate unaddressed. Engineer your response patterns to automatically seek opportunity within adversity, to look for the hidden gem, rather than merely documenting the problem. Remember that resilience muscles, like physical ones, develop through progressive resistance, through continuous challenge, rather than comfortable repetition. Feed your resilience quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential contributors systematically extracted maximum growth from their most devastating defeats. Consider the inspiring Clementine Churchill, who experienced personal tragedy that would have permanently sidelined many contemporaries. She cultivated extraordinary resilience mechanisms that converted profound grief into purposeful action. When facing devastating personal losses that threatened her emotional stability, when encountering institutional resistance that blocked traditional contribution avenues, when weathering public criticism that undermined her confidence, her resilience architecture held firm. This was not through emotional suppression, no, but through meaning-making that continuously extracted purpose from pain. Her resilience mastery was not about denial. No, it was about strategic response selection that consistently transformed personal suffering into expanded capacity for addressing others' suffering. The humanitarian initiatives that emerged directly from her resilience process, difficulties, eventually improved conditions for countless vulnerable populations that would have remained unserved had she allowed setbacks to determine her contribution trajectory. Ask yourself, with unwavering honesty, are you currently viewing certain setbacks as journey-ending rather than course-correcting experiences? What transformative possibilities might suddenly emerge if you redirected your energy from setback avoidance toward resilience cultivation? Could your greatest current frustrations, those moments of perceived defeat, actually represent disguised invitations toward superior directions, pathways you wouldn't have considered without forced redirection? Might your most significant achievements, those you yearn for, await directly beyond resilience barriers currently registering as overwhelming obstacles? Consider this fundamental perspective shift. Perhaps success appears delayed, not because circumstances oppose you, but because resilience development requires precisely the challenges you're currently facing. The truth, my friends, remains difficulties determine your trajectory primarily based on your resilience response rather than their inherent severity. Your extraordinary comeback begins with resilience development. When you fully comprehend that setbacks function as essential components of success, rather than contradictions to it, that, my friends, is when genuine transformation begins. Your remarkable comeback awaits your resilience response. Now, let us unveil the ultimate determinant of your destiny. Your mindset determines your possibilities. Your inherent potential remains either imprisoned, held captive, or magnificently unleashed, depending entirely upon the mindset you meticulously cultivate daily. Envision this profound difference, seeing insurmountable problems where others, with different eyes, spot fertile opportunities. Noticing crippling limitations where others identify powerful advantages. Focusing intently on impossibilities where others, with boundless vision, discover a world of possibilities. And emphasizing daunting obstacles where others detect firm stepping stones, pathways to ascent. This mindset architecture does not establish itself overnight. No, it develops through consistent thought patterns, through habitual focused direction, through repeated interpretation choices, until eventually your perception automatically filters reality through possibility, through boundless potential, rather than through limitation. What once appeared as immovable barriers, as impenetrable walls, now registers as creative challenges worthy of your profound engagement. Those who master mindset cultivation, they discover a liberating truth. They need not frantically attempt to change all external circumstances, those outside conditions, because they have learned to transform their fundamental relationship with any circumstance. Why, then, does mindset create this possibility-expanding effect? Because perception functions not as neutral observation, a passive recording, but as active creation, filtering all experience through established interpretation patterns. Historical analysis of breakthrough achievers reveals not unusual conditions, not inherited advantages, no, but unusual perspectives about common conditions. Your mindset determines which information receives your precious attention, what meaning is assigned to events, which responses even seem reasonable to you, and ultimately what results appear achievable. When you truly recognize that mindset operates as a reality filter, a powerful lens, rather than a neutral reality reflection, suddenly mental management becomes not optional improvement, but essential, non-negotiable navigation. Most significantly, mindset mastery prevents circumstances from dictating your possibility landscape, from limiting your vision by establishing internal rather than external boundary determination. So, how do you develop a mindset that consistently expands rather than contracts your possibility perception? Begin by conducting a rigorous mindset audit. Identify recurring thought patterns that create both opportunity awareness and artificial limitations in your experience. Practice perspective flexibility by deliberately adopting multiple viewpoints about challenging situations. Establish mindset maintenance routines that systematically expose your thinking to expansive rather than restrictive influences. Engineer your information environment. Meticulously select what you consume to support possibility-focused rather than problem-focused mental patterns. Remember that mindset muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent challenge, through deliberate stretching, rather than comfortable confirmation. Feed your mindset quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential innovators maintained expansive possibility perception, a boundless vision, despite seemingly insurmountable constraints. Consider Hyman Rickover. His contemporaries perceived absolute safety barriers to certain energy applications, believing them impossible. He maintained fundamentally different possibility perceptions. When conventional wisdom declared specific engineering challenges unsolvable, when institutional forces resisted exploring unproven methodologies, when resource limitations threatened project viability, his possibility mindset never wavered. Not through ignorance of legitimate concerns, no, but through perspective discipline that consistently detected potential pathways invisible to limitation-focused observers. His mindset architecture was not about blind optimism. No, it was about strategic perception management that consistently illuminated solution paths obscured to conventional perspective. The technological breakthroughs emerging directly from his possibility-oriented mindset eventually transformed entire industries that would have remained stagnant had he adopted prevailing limitation perceptions. Ask yourself, with profound honesty, are you currently allowing artificial mental barriers to establish your achievement parameters, to define what is possible for you, rather than using mindset to expand your possibility landscapes? What transformative opportunities might suddenly become visible if you deliberately shifted your perspective from limitation documentation toward possibility detection? Could your greatest current frustrations, those moments of perceived impossibility, actually reflect thought patterns, internal constructs, rather than genuine external barriers? Might your most significant achievements, those you deeply desire, await just beyond mindset limitations currently masquerading as external obstacles? Consider this fundamental reorientation. Perhaps success appears elusive, not because external conditions oppose you, but because internal perception patterns haven't aligned with its requirements. The truth, my friends, remains circumstances influence your trajectory primarily through the mindset you maintain about them. Your possibility expansion begins with perception transformation. When you fully comprehend that conditions do not limit possibilities, but mindset determines which possibilities register as viable, that, my friends, is when genuine liberation begins. Your extraordinary possibilities await your mindset cultivation, a molded doppelvation. Now, let us forge the ultimate bridge to your dreams. Discipline bridges dreams to achievement. Your highest aspirations transform from mere wishful thinking to tangible reality solely through the unwavering, ironclad bridge of discipline. Imagine this powerful construction process. Mundane daily actions, those seemingly insignificant steps, accumulating into monumental achievements. Unremarkable routines crystallizing into remarkable results. Invisible daily commitments manifesting as visible accomplishments. This discipline architecture does not announce itself dramatically. No, it operates quietly, repeatedly, reliably, building your success infrastructure while everyone else focuses on more exciting, more glamorous activities. What once lived only as imagination, as a fleeting vision, eventually materializes into tangible circumstance through discipline's unglamorous, relentless consistency. Those who master discipline, they discover a transformative truth. They need not possess extraordinary talent, for they have developed the extraordinary consistency that, in many cases, renders raw talent irrelevant. Why, then, does discipline create this dream manifesting power? Because achievement operates as a process, a continuous unfolding, rather than a single event, regardless of the field or ambition. Historical examination of exceptional performers reveals not unusual ability, not inherent genius. No, but unusual behavioral consistency. Your discipline determines which skills receive development, what relationships get maintained, which opportunities become accessible, and ultimately what aspirations become achievable. When you truly recognize that discipline functions as achievement's primary ingredient, its foundational element, rather than its occasional accompaniment, suddenly consistent action becomes not personality dependent, but absolutely essential for success. Most significantly, discipline mastery prevents momentary motivation, those fleeting surges of inspiration, from dictating your achievement trajectory by establishing action systems independent of emotional fluctuation. So, how do you develop discipline powerful enough to transform even your most ambitious dreams into tangible reality? Begin by identifying your current discipline anchors, those areas where you already demonstrate consistent action regardless of convenience or mood. Practice progressive discipline expansion by systematically installing new habit patterns around existing consistency nodes, building upon your strengths. Establish environmental triggers that initiate action sequences before motivation or willpower even become relevant to the decision. Engineer your physical spaces and social circles to support, rather than sabotage, your most important discipline commitments. Remember that disciplined muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent small challenges, through daily effort, rather than occasional heroic efforts. Feed your discipline quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential contributors maintained extraordinary consistency amidst circumstances far more challenging than yours. His brilliantly talented contemporaries pursued sporadic research based on shifting interests, following fleeting passions. He maintained unprecedented consistency investigating specific biological compounds with relentless focus despite minimal initial recognition. When exciting diversions tempted his attention away from methodical investigation, when funding patterns favored flashier research directions, when publication opportunities rewarded dramatic proclamations over meticulous verification, his discipline architecture never wavered, not through superhuman willpower, no, but through systematized action patterns that continued functioning regardless of motivational fluctuation. His disciplined mastery was not about personality traits, no, it was about process design that eventually yielded medical breakthroughs that would have remained undiscovered had he allowed emotional variation to dictate research consistency. Ask yourself, with candid honesty, are you currently treating discipline as a personality trait you either possess or lack, rather than a systematizable process available to anyone who chooses to cultivate it? What transformative achievements might suddenly materialize if you redirected your focus from motivation cultivation toward consistent action architecture? Could your greatest unfulfilled aspirations, those dreams that remain just out of reach, actually reflect discipline insufficiency rather than capability limitations? Might your most meaningful accomplishments, those that will truly define your legacy, await just beyond discipline barriers currently registering as inspiration deficits? Consider this fundamental reframing. Perhaps success appears distant, not because you lack necessary qualities, but because you've underestimated how thoroughly discipline determines which qualities become necessary. The truth, my friends, remains talents influence achievement primarily when discipline converts potential into consistent performance. Your dream manifestation begins with disciplined installation. When you fully comprehend that success requires not better dreams, but better discipline, that, my friends, is when genuine transformation begins. Your extraordinary achievements await your disciplined action. Now, let us conclude with the silent yet omnipotent force that shapes us. Your inner vibrance shapes your evolution. Your developmental trajectory, the very path of your becoming, becomes virtually predetermined by the environmental influences you consistently expose yourself to. Visualize this profound influence, absorbing thought patterns from your 5 closest relationships, adopting standards from your most frequented communities, internalizing values from your regular information diet, and developing ambitions based on your visibility horizons, what you see as possible. This environmental architecture does not announce its shaping power. No, it operates invisibly, continuously, cumulatively, molding your becoming while you remain barely conscious of its profound influence. What once appeared as purely personal choice increasingly reveals itself as an environmental imprint, a subtle yet powerful shaping force. Those who master environmental design, they discover a transformative truth. They need not rely solely on brute willpower because they have learned to structure their surroundings in such a way that it naturally pulls them toward desired outcomes. Why, then, does environment wield this extraordinary developmental influence? Because human beings evolved as profoundly social organisms, continuously adapting to their surroundings. Historical analysis of exceptional contributors reveals not unusual willpower, no, but unusual environmental craft. Your surroundings determine which ideas receive regular exposure, what behaviors seem normal, which opportunities become visible, and ultimately what person you become. When you truly recognize that environment functions as fate's architect, rather than a neutral backdrop, suddenly surroundings engineering becomes not optional enhancement, but developmental necessity. Most significantly, environment mastery prevents accidental influences from shaping your evolution, from subtly diverting your path, by establishing intentional rather than default surroundings. So, how do you design environments powerful enough to naturally propel you toward your highest aspirations? Begin by conducting a rigorous environmental audit. Identify which current surroundings most strongly influence your thinking standards, your habits, and your aspirations, both positively and negatively. Practice deliberate exposure management by systematically increasing contact with growth-catalyzing influences, those that elevate you, while rigorously reducing contact with progress-inhibiting ones. Establish environmental reboot protocols for quickly reconstructing optimal surroundings after disruption. Engineer your physical spaces, your relationship networks, your information sources, and your visibility horizons to consistently expose you to examples and standards slightly beyond your current level. Remember that environmental muscles, like physical ones, strengthen through consistent cultivation, through diligent effort, rather than occasional consideration. Feed your environmental quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential figures systematically structured surroundings that naturally facilitated their development toward specific objectives. His equally brilliant contemporaries embedded themselves within conventional research environments, following established norms. He deliberately engineered radically different surroundings conducive to breakthrough thinking. When traditional laboratory structures reinforced established methodologies, when academic environments rewarded incremental rather than revolutionary approaches, when professional communities penalized paradigm-challenging perspectives, his environmental architecture created a protected space for unconventional exploration, not through rejection of legitimate standards, but through intentional cultivation of surroundings where different questions could be asked, where new possibilities could emerge. His environment mastery was not about isolation. No, it was about strategic influence selection that eventually facilitated medical breakthroughs that would have remained undiscovered had he allowed default research environments to determine his thinking patterns. Ask yourself, with profound honesty, are you currently leaving your most powerful developmental force, your environment, to random chance rather than strategic design? What transformative possibilities might naturally occur if you deliberately engineered surroundings aligned with your highest aspirations? Could your greatest unfulfilled potential, those talents yet to blossom, actually reflect an environmental mismatch rather than a personal limitation? Might your most significant evolutions await just beyond environmental reconstructions currently registering as merely optional changes? Consider this fundamental reorientation. Perhaps development appears challenging, not because you lack necessary qualities, but because you've underestimated how thoroughly environment determines which qualities naturally emerge. The truth, my friends, remains, willpower influences growth primarily until environmental design renders willpower largely unnecessary. Your evolutionary acceleration begins with environmental engineering. When you fully comprehend that becoming depends less on better intentions than on better surroundings, that, my friends, is when genuine transformation begins. Your extraordinary evolution awaits your environmental mastery. Now, let us bridge all divides. Communication mastery creates connection. Your relationships transform from superficial exchanges to profound, deeply resonant connections solely through communication mastery. Envision this transformation, expressing complex ideas with crystal clarity, making the intricate understandable, resolving conflicts through productive, meaningful dialogue, inspiring powerful action through compelling, persuasive language, and creating understanding across significant, seemingly insurmountable differences. This communication architecture does not develop automatically. No, it emerges through deliberate skill cultivation, through consistent practice, through thoughtful refinement, until eventually, your words build powerful bridges where formidable barriers previously existed. What once registered as persistent misunderstanding now transforms into consistent, profound comprehension. Those who master communication, they discover a transformative truth. They need not accept connection limitations, because they have developed the expressive capacity to create understanding across virtually any divide. Because relationships operate as fundamentally linguistic constructions, regardless of context or participants. Historical analysis of exceptional leaders reveals not unusual charisma, no, but unusual linguistic precision. Your communication quality determines which ideas get accurately transmitted, what connections become possible, which conflicts find resolution, and ultimately what collaborative achievements emerge. When you truly recognize that communication functions as relationship architecture, as the very blueprint of human connection, rather than mere information transfer, suddenly expression mastery becomes not social nicety, but essential infrastructure. Most significantly, communication mastery prevents superficial exchanges from replacing genuine connection by establishing linguistic patterns capable of expressing authentic understanding. So, how do you develop communication powerful enough to build connections across even significant differences? Begin by identifying communication patterns currently creating both understanding and misunderstanding in your important relationships. Practice perspective taking through deliberately adopting the linguistic frameworks of those you struggle to understand. Establish regular feedback loops that reveal gaps between your intended and actual message reception. Engineer your expression patterns to proactively address predictable misunderstandings before they occur. Remember that communication muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent practice, through diligent application, rather than theoretical knowledge. Feed your communication quality by diligently studying how history's most unifying figures maintain dialogue effectiveness across profound differences that typically terminate productive exchange. Her equally passionate contemporaries struggled communicating across significant social divides. She developed extraordinary linguistic bridges that created understanding where others found only frustration. When historical grievances blocked productive dialogue, when fundamentally different life experiences created seemingly incompatible perspectives, when emotionally charged topics defied analytical discussion, her communication architecture maintained effectiveness, not through diluting difficult truths, but through expressing them in frameworks accessible to those with radically different starting positions. Her communication mastery was not about pleasantry. No, it was about precision that eventually facilitated social transformations that would have remained theoretical had she allowed communication barriers to determine connection possibilities. Ask yourself, with open honesty, are you currently accepting certain relationship limitations as inevitable, rather than as communication challenges awaiting better linguistic approaches? What transformative connections might suddenly become possible if you redirected your focus from proving correctness toward creating genuine understanding? Could your greatest relationship frustrations, those moments of discord, actually reflect communication insufficiency rather than inherent incompatibility? Might your most meaningful collaborations, those that will leave a lasting impact, await just beyond communication barriers currently registering as irreconcilable differences? Consider this fundamental reframing. Perhaps connection appears impossible, not because differences are too great, but because communication approaches haven't matched those differences' complexity. The truth, my friends, remains. Differences limit relationships primarily when communication fails to bridge them adequately. Your connection development begins with communication mastery, when you fully comprehend that understanding requires not agreement, but effective expression. That, my friends, is when genuine transformation begins. Your extraordinary connections await your communication development. Finally, let us embrace the ultimate perspective shifter. Gratitude transforms perspective completely. Your entire perception shifts fundamentally, irrevocably, when gratitude becomes your dominant mental mode, your constant companion, rather than an occasional emotional response. Imagine this profound transformation, finding profound abundance where others, in their limited vision, see only scarcity, noticing undeniable progress amidst apparent setback, experiencing deep contentment even within ambitious striving in the pursuit of your grandest goals, and discovering hidden opportunities within challenges, seeing the silver lining in every cloud. This gratitude orientation does not emerge through occasional appreciation. No, it develops through systematic thankfulness practice, through deliberate benefit identification, through consistent blessing documentation, until eventually, your perception automatically illuminates gifts within every circumstance, seeing the good in all things. What once triggered complaint or comparison now generates genuine, heartfelt appreciation. Those who master gratitude, they discover a liberating truth. They need not wait for perfect circumstances to arrive, because they have learned to extract meaningful value from any circumstance. Why, then, does gratitude create this perspective transforming effect? Because appreciation functions not merely as a response to blessings, but as a revealer of blessings previously invisible to a complaint-oriented perception. Historical examination of exceptionally effective individuals reveals not unusual advantages, no, but an unusual appreciation for common advantages. Your gratitude practice determines which assets receive recognition, what progress gets celebrated, which opportunities become visible, and ultimately what satisfaction becomes accessible, regardless of external conditions. When you truly recognize that gratitude operates as a powerful perception filter, rather than a mere emotional response, suddenly thankfulness cultivation becomes not optional pleasantry, but essential, non-negotiable navigation. Most significantly, gratitude mastery prevents circumstantial deficiencies from dictating your experience quality by establishing appreciation, rather than acquisition, as fulfillment's primary source. So, how do you develop gratitude powerful enough to transform even challenging circumstances into appreciation opportunities? Begin by conducting a meticulous advantage inventory. Systematically document the countless benefits you regularly enjoy but rarely acknowledge across physical, relational, opportunity, and resource dimensions. Practice contrast consideration by regularly reflecting on how your current conditions would appear from less advantaged perspectives, seeing your blessings through different eyes. Establish daily gratitude rituals that direct your attention towards specific blessings before engagement with daily challenges. Engineer your information consumption patterns to regularly expose you to circumstances that contextualize your difficulties within the broader human experience. Remember that gratitude muscles, like physical ones, develop through consistent exercise, through diligent practice, rather than occasional inspiration. Feed your appreciation quality by diligently studying how history's most consequential contributors maintained extraordinary thankfulness amid circumstances far more challenging than those typically triggering your complaints. His contemporaries focused primarily on damage documentation, on the trauma and the wounds. He maintained fundamentally different appreciation patterns that detected meaning possibilities within even the most adverse circumstances, finding light in the darkest of places. When conventional therapeutic approaches emphasized limitation analysis, when cultural narratives reinforced victim identification, when personal history suggested permanent psychological damage, his gratitude architecture remained operational, not through denying legitimate suffering. And there you have it, architects of destiny. The principles are laid bare. The choice, as always, is profoundly yours. Go forth and build your empire within.